What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network, back with top decks of the standard format again, this time for weeks 3 and 4 of Team Up Legal Standard. It's Friday, March 1st, and I'm going to go over week 3 and 4 here because I don't expect much to change in the next week. We just had the Canes special event and Collinsville regionals this past weekend, which solidified the top decks a little bit more and added a few things into the meta, but not too much changed. And I don't think that there will be a lot of changes aside from like number 1 going to number 2 and things like that with the League Cups coming up. It's really hard to say what the League Cups have changed since it's just small areas and regions. So, top decks, we had 4 last week. This week we're going to 5 top decks for Tier 1 or around Tier 1. Zoroark, PikaRom, and Zapdos variants went in as the top 3 decks for Collinsville this past weekend. And I said Ultra Necrozma-Malamar might be the sleeper deck going into this meta because it performed okay at the OCIC. The first week team up was legal. But it didn't have a great performance in day 2, so some people might think that Malamar decks were going to fall off a bit. I still had faith in it. It turns out that they are the number 4 deck right now, based on the meta shares from day 2 and the points earned and things like that. And then Blacephalon-GX Naganadel actually won Collinsville Regionals, piloted by Zach Lesage. And so I think you will be seeing Blacephalon stick around for League Cups in the next couple weeks. First, we'll briefly go over Zoroark. It's been here for 2 weeks now. I believe it was here last week for the second week top decks, and so we're going over it again. I've changed a couple things to my list. If you don't know about Zoroark, Zoroark-GX's trade ability allows you to draw a lot of cards, and you have a lot of options, and that means you can play a lot of techs in the deck. Alolan Muck's Power of Alchemy, which shuts off basic Pokemon's abilities, is very, very good against Zapdos decks because they rely on Jirachi's Stellar Wish. And Lycanroc-GX's Bloodthirsty Eyes ability allows you to be aggressive throughout this consistent moderate damage. And Lucario-GX has been finding its way into a lot of Zoroark lists because Aura Strike can one-shot PikaRom, which is a very powerful Pokemon in the current standard meta. So this is what my current list looks like. It's changed just a bit since last week's video. I took out Wondrous Labyrinth, and I added a second Riolu. I think those were one of the only changes that I made. I forget if Mallow was here last week, but just going over the list, I think the Alolan Grimer is completely necessary. Some lists were running just Ditto Prism to evolve into Alolan Muck, but I think you need the Alolan Grimer because that Power of Alchemy is so important against Zapdos and other decks using Jirachi. You want the 2-1 line of Lucario, not just one Riolu, because Aura Strike only works if you evolve from Riolu, not if you evolve from Ditto. So you do want the 2 Riolu, I think, to consistently be able to Aura Strike versus PikaRom. And I'm playing 3-2 Lycanroc, just because Lycanroc is a great attacker in a lot of matchups, and even in the matchups where he's not attacking all the time, you want to be able to use the Bloodthirsty Eyes ability, since we're only playing 2 Guzma. So we have the 2 Gust effects from Bloodthirsty Eyes and the 2 Guzmas. We do run the PAL pad to reuse Guzma and Acerola, but I like having the 3 Rockruff. So this deck is not very good against Blacephalon, which is why it lost in the finals of Collinsville. Zoroark, previous to Team Up, was being built with Kukuis, sometimes a 3rd choice band, and also 2 or 3 devoured fields, so that Zoroark itself could hit 180 damage versus a Blacephalon. Now that's really not a possibility for Zoroark, and your one-shots are going to be happening with just Bloodthirsty Eyes, or maybe a Cantankerous Beatdown every now and again. So does not fare very well versus Blacephalon, but I think it's very, very safe versus most of the meta. So PikaRom, this actually won the Canes special event, which was happening simultaneous to the Collinsville regionals, just in a different country. So Gustavo Wada actually won the Canes special event. You can find all of this information on limitless.com, limitlesstcg.com, and ptcgstats.com. But PikaRom, you're focused on using full blitz to deal 150 damage plus damage modifiers, and then search your deck for up to 3 lightning energy and attach them to a Pokemon. So full blitz is like the bread and butter of this deck. Once you get a full blitz off, you power up another PikaRom, or you power up the attacking PikaRom if your opponent has an unthreatening board, and then you can just run through them with Tag Bolt and take multiple prizes. Gustavo Wada's list, which is what we're going to look at now, was actually very, very versatile. I have it built in real life right now. I sleeved it up and I might play it for a League Cup tomorrow. I think this list is very cool. It looks a lot of fun to play. It looks very versatile, and since he won Canes with it, I'm sure it has the power to go all the way in large League Cups, and probably even another standard regionals like Dallas. I'm sorry, not Dallas, Denver. But so he played the 1/1 Jolteon-GX as another lightning attacker, and in addition to the 2 PikaRom and the 2 Zapdos, the 1 Tapu Koko GX as a tech attacker, kind of. It's very good in the mirror match. It's also good against Zoroark, since they'll usually have 3 to 4 energy on the board. Zoroark GX helps you retreat for free. Absol really screws up Jirachis on the opponent's side, and we even have Jirachi in this list ourselves to use Stellar Wish to hit important things like switching cards and Electro Powers, and maybe an energy switch. So yeah, I think this list is super good. Obviously, congrats to Gustavo Wada for winning the event with this. And I definitely think this is a list you should start out with if you're looking to play PikaRom yourself. Expect to see something like this at your local League Cups. So Zapdos Shrine, DDG won OCIC with the Zapdos Shrine. Zapdos variants showed up again in numbers at both Canes and Collinsville this past weekend. It did not win Collinsville, but it did perform very well. It was in the top 3. Like most people probably already knew. There's a lot of techs you can go with. Jolteon-GX can be a partner, or you can go with Buzzwole and Nihilego. You can even have Zebstrika as a backup draw option for when Alolan Muck is on the board and your Stellar Wishes are not working. So this list is Pedro Torres. He placed top 4 at the Canes event that Gustavo Wada won. Again, he's playing the Jolteon-GX and the Zapdos and the Tapu Koko GX. Pretty much the only thing missing here from Gustavo's deck is the PikaRom. This isn't a PikaRom-based deck. It's a Zapdos-based deck. So 4 Jirachi and 3 Zapdos and 2 Jolteon. I really love Jolteon as a card. It's very versatile. Its GX attack is super good if your opponent doesn't have Escape Rope Guzma. I like the Max Potion in here because that's actually great versus Ultra Necrozma-GX decks with a Tapu Koko, because you can reset some of their spread and their game plan to Sky Scorching Light for the game. Maybe you can make them miss it by just 1 prize card and then come in for the game. Again, this is a list that you should familiarize yourself with and start out if you want to play Zapdos yourself. Probably start out with a list that looks something like this. If you don't have a hold of the full 2/2 line of Jolteon, or you don't have the 4 Jirachi, maybe go down to 3 Jirachi and add a 4th Zapdos, or if you only have 1 Jolteon, maybe play an Acerola, some other healing card to go with the Max Potion nicely, and maybe a 3rd Escape board, another Choice Band, maybe a Shrine of Punishments. But yeah, I do suggest this list to start out with at first, and also familiarize yourself with it, because you'll probably see something like it at League Cups the next 2 weeks. Fourth on the list, Ultra Necrozma-GX Malamar. I played the list that I posted in last week's video. I played that at a league challenge and took another first place. Just a league challenge. But the deck has been running very smoothly. I enjoy the Tapu Koko in it. Ultra Necrozma had a very good showing. Like I said, it was at 4th in Collinsville. For day 2 spots, go ahead and check out my Collinsville post analysis where I go over which decks did well, which decks earned players money, what top aided, and why I think all of that, if you're looking for more stats wise. But we're going to go into the Ultra Necrozma-GX Malamar list that I have been piloting. I've only changed one card since last week, and that is I put in Dawnwing's Necrozma-GX. So Dawnwing's Necrozma-GX is here for its Moon's Eclipse attack, which does 180 damage, and your opponent cannot... basically, all effects of attacks, including damage, are prevented from Dawnwing's next turn. And you can only use this attack if you are behind on prizes. So if your opponent has less prizes than you. I put this in here because it's very good against Blacephalon. They'll usually take an early lead, whether it be with their GX attack to discard a prize card, or it's to knock out something of ours. So Dawnwings was omitted in my previous iteration of this list, but I put it back in because I think Blacephalon-GX will be around League Cups. People were already playing it, but Zach Lesage winning Collinsville with Blacephalon is just going to reassure people to play it. So Dawnwings Necrozma is definitely something you want to be putting in your Malamar lists if you want to beat Blacephalon, if you're expecting to see Blacephalon. And also note, a lot of Ultra Necrozma Malamars added one Tapu Koko into their lists. I saw players from Canes post their lists, and I'm pretty sure there were lists from Collinsville that also played a Tapu Koko. Not sure if any played 2, but I really like the 2. You could argue to go down to 1 Tapu Koko and put in a second Rescue Stretcher in its place, which I have seen some people do. So last for the top decks for week 3 and 4 of Team Up Legal Standard format, we have Blacephalon-GX with its partner Naganadel from Lost Thunder. So Blacephalon-GX, Bursting Burn. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now Burn and Confused. This is not an attack that you're using a lot, but it'll be used maybe sometimes if you go second and you don't want to use Burst GX. Mind Blown is where it's really at, though. For 2 fire energy, put any amount of fire energy attached to your Pokemon into the Lost Zone. This attack does 50 for each energy put into the Lost Zone. So you can do 200 for sending 4, 250 for sending 5, and then if you have Beast Energy attached, that does even more damage. Naganadel's charging up ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So charging up, while it does not get back energy that were removed with Mind Blown, you can get back energy that were Ultra Balled, Mysterious Treasured away, or used for Heat Factory. Let Loose, there's usually 1 or 2 Let Loose in this deck. Just because you're using Mysterious Treasure, it's easily searchable, and you don't want a bunch of Lele's on your board for your opponent to goose them up. Maybe that doesn't matter too much since you already have Blacephalon, but there are some cases where 170 is easier to hit than 180. And Let Loose is just really nice to try to screw up your opponent's hand a bit. If you've been playing standard format, you know that Let Loose is kind of the bane of some people's existence. And Blacephalon-GX really banks on Let Loose, giving you good cards and your opponent some bad cards. And last but not least, Alolan Muck has finally kind of really earned its spot in Blacephalon-GX. It was in some decks, but not all decks previous to Team Up, but we're going to be seeing it a lot more for the same reason it's in Zoroark, for the Zapdos using Jirachi so much. And it also blocks other things like Let Loose and Lele and Dawnwing's Invasion and Giratina being able to come back from the discard pile. But Power of Alchemy really shuts down Jirachi, and that's the importance of it. So this is the list that Zach Lesage won first place at Collinsville with. A couple interesting things. 3 Poipole for Naganadel, since he's also playing the 1 Ditto. And then 1/1 Muck line. He's running 4 Ultra Ball and 3 Treasure instead of 4 Treasure, 3 Ultra Ball, because the 4 Ultra Ball can get more cards out of your hand and thin better, meaning that you're putting more fire energy into the discard to use for Naganadels charging up, and you're getting cards out of the cycle of your deck if you're using Cynthia and whatnot, and also empty your hand better to use Erica's Hospitality, which is a new supporter card from Team Up that Zach opted to use. I do expect that you will see Blacephalon, Ultra Necrozma, Zapdos, PikaRom, and Zoroark Lycanroc with some Lucarios in there at your League Cups, in addition to, of course, other decks that did well at Collinsville, but these are really the top 5, and I think these are the top 5 that are kind of defining our standard format at the moment. I do not think, however, that Blacephalon-GX will have the longevity that the other decks will. I expect the other 4 decks to stay at the top of our standard format for quite a while. But Blacephalon, I think, was a very good meta call for Collinsville, since a lot of top players decided to pilot Zoroark, and the Zoroarks are not built to beat Blacephalon anymore. But people can just put Dawnwings back in their Malamar decks, they can put Kukui and Devoured Fields back in their Zoroark decks, and Blacephalon doesn't have the best time versus 1 prize attacker decks either. So like I said, I don't think this will have the longevity that Ultra Mally, Zapdos, PikaRom, and Zoroark decks do for the standard format, but I do think you should expect to see 1 or 2 here and there at the next couple League Cups you go to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do subscribe, comment, leave a like, and check out some of the videos to the right over here. And also flipsidegaming.com. Use code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your next order, $10 or more. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.